Yo, what's up, everybody? It's me, that one weeb. I'm back. Sorry that I took a day and a half break. We had some stuff going on at my school. We had this big band event thing that I had to go to because a lot of my friends were in it, and I was pretty excited. It was fun. I posted a video yesterday. No, it was this morning at 12 that I recorded last night for what if Miyuto survived the attack on Konoha from the QB, and you guys seem to like that, so that's really good. But I also have this video that's going out today, which is what if bleh, what if Deku had Juggernauht's powers from comics. So, you know, yeah. So this was a suggestion by this cool dude who suggested this other one what if that I made too. So that's great. So he's helping me out. Thanks for the ideas. I'm not creative enough to come up with all of them. So thank you guys, and if you guys have any suggestions that you want to be made into videos, feel free to comment them down below, and if I have enough time and it's like an anime that I want to watch or something I can research, then I'll definitely look into it. Right now I have something about some Macau Knights that I'm looking into, but let's get into the story. Deku's born abnormally buff for a child. When he's born, it's very clear he has a quirk. He already has like a six-pack of abs, and his strength levels are that of maybe someone 4 years older than him. He learns to walk pretty fast, but his intelligence is a little bit lower than the original timeline. Azuka's mom's very proud of him and loves when he helps her out with stuff, and he loves his mom a lot. What happens is, when he's 4 years old, Bakugo tries to bully him for being all big and looking like a big marshmallow, since at this point Deku looks like a bodybuilder during preschool. Bakugo tries to throw explosions at Deku, and this makes Deku cry, and then he punches Bakugo. Bakugo goes flying backwards and runs into the ground. He gets a scrape on his knee and elbow and starts crying. Then him and his friends run away and say that they'll get Deku next time. Deku cheers as he thinks that he just took down the villain as they were playing, as he was the hero. Later in life, as a middle schooler, Bakugo respects Deku, and every time he tries to fight him, hasn't won yet. But he's gotten close a few times. Deku's abnormal strength is equal to that, to the point where his body looks just like All Might's. So Deku, being a fan of All Might, automatically thinks his quirk and All Might's are very similar, and that makes him super happy. As time had went on, his body had grown abnormally strong, to the point where he could do jumps and fly just like All Might could. But his technique was very poor, as he doesn't really know how to use his strength properly. Fast forward to the first episode of the anime. When Deku's sitting in school, the chair he has is actually a little bit larger than it's meant, since this Deku is basically the size of an adult man at the time of a middle schooler. So you can imagine just this buff dude with Deku's haircut and like jawline face sitting in this little kid desk. He's sitting there, and then he's writing his hero notebook about All Might and all other like big strong heroes, like especially this new Mountain Lady person. He really resonates with her on the big level. Eventually, school lets out, and Bakugo sees his notebook and he looks at it and says he's a hero notebook. He asks Deku why he even needs to bother writing down notes on heroes when he's so strong already. He says it's looking disgusted. Deku says that he wouldn't say that, and that he has a lot to work on. Bakugo scoffs and says that once his quirk gets stronger, he's gonna kick his ass. Oh, sorry, YouTube. Anyway, he then walks away, and then Deku begins to walk home. Deku walks past the fountain and starts walking down the same subway that he did in the original timeline. Some sludge starts to pull out of the sewers and begins to wrap around Deku's leg. Immediately, Deku feels this wet, gross thing beginning to wrap around his ankle and says, "Ew, that's nasty," and he kicks his foot back, thus shooting the sludge villain backwards. The sludge villain comes out and says he's going to take your body, you guy. And then Deku turns around and he sees this teenager kid with a super buff and tall body. He says he's definitely going to take it now and rushes towards Deku. Deku pulls his fist back and pushes forward and says, "Time to get decked," as he says, just like how Mirio says power. He does this, and then the sludge villain is instantly knocked back with a brush of wind. When he's out, Deku immediately cheers and says, at least I didn't have to use my shield," which we'll elaborate on later. All Might comes, preparing to defeat the villain and save whoever might be in the way. When he sees this buff hero-looking middle schooler who's standing there over the villain, holding his hands to his side, just like a superhero in a comic book. All Might laughs a little bit and walks over and says hello. Deku, seeing All Might, immediately begins fanboying out and claps his hands together, which causes several rushes of wind. All Might sees that this kid has no clue how to control his power at all, as he's just too strong. Eventually, All Might asks him what he wants to do, and Deku tells him that he wants to be a strong hero, just like him. Then he asks Deku what kind of quirk he has. Almost coughed again. Sorry about that. Sorry. I'm feeling a little under the weather. All Might asks Deku about his quirk, and Deku tells him that his quirk is called Juggernaught. There's this sort of energy that fills throughout his body that makes all of his muscles amped to the maximum potential they can be, as well as him giving him super strength, super speed, as well as some other abilities. He tells All Might about his shield. It's this sort of protective layer of energy that coats the outside of his body. When fist or anything touches it, it can't really get through to him, and he calls it his thick skin. Eventually, All Might says this is interesting and asks if he'd like to train with him. Deku's super excited by the prospect, says of course, and then All Might leaps off and says he'll catch up with him. Deku, wanting to see where All Might's going, as he's a little bit less smart, jumps off after him, and All Might turns to the right and sees Deku jumping in the air just like him, which makes him surprised, as he's been using like 20% of One For All in order to do that kind of skill. At this point, Deku lands on the hospital building and All Might's about to poof. When All Might poofs, Deku, not knowing what's happening, sees a skinny man and wonders where All Might went. All Might, realizing he can make Deku leave like this, says that All Might went that way. Deku jumps off the building and runs away. Then, suddenly, All Might realizes that the bottles are missing out of his pockets. When that kid had flown right next to him, he realized he dropped them accidentally when he was surprised. Bakugo, kicking the bottle at that exact moment, unleashes the slug villain, which begins to take him over. Deku hears an explosion and realizes what might have happened. He runs over towards where Bakugo was, and then finds that he's there, inside of the sludge villain that was trying to take him over. Deku, being enraged by what is happening to his friend, rushes over at top speed, a wake of wind traveling behind him as his strong legs push him forward. He crunches his fist backwards behind him, and then yells with everything he has, a mock of All Might's. He says, what should we call it? Well, you can name the attack. What kind of attacks do you guys want? I'll put a poll in the description. Anyway, he shouts this attack, and then he punches the villain, causing a whirlwind of air to push the villain, and as he pulls Bakugo to safety. The sludge villain goes flying into bits, and the weather begins to change. At this point, Deku holds his fist up in the air and smiles to the crowd behind him. Everyone cheers, and the heroes are wondering what hero this could be, and why he's wearing a large middle schooler outfit. Then, Bakugo scoffs and says, "Damn you, Deku. How dare you do this and take my spotlight? I could have had it all by myself." He then walks off. All Might in the crowd, seeing what had happened, is amazed by his strength, and realizes that he could even be on par with One For All. He starts determining on whether or not he should give Deku One For All. Anyway, on his walk back home, Deku begins to walk back to his house. All Might, appearing out of nowhere seemingly, comes out of nowhere in his strong form, and then poofs back to normal. Deku, realizing it's the same old guy from before, asks what happened to All Might and why is he here. Then All Might explains to Deku what his real form is and how it actually works. He then tells Deku all about One For All and how it's a strong quirk passed on from user to user, and that he thinks that if he gave him One For All, he could handle it right now, as well as that it might be even stronger than him. Deku, amazed, says that he'll train hard and that he'll do whatever it takes to make All Might proud of him. All Might plucks one of his hairs out and gives it to Izuku. Izuku ingests it without pretty much any question, as he doesn't really see the problem with this. Then, a few days later, they meet up at Dagobah Beach, where they begin their training for the UA entrance exams. If you guys like that part, make sure to say thanks to the Master Shinobi. I think it is. I put it on screen. And for anyone else who makes suggestions, like the Miyuto What If, I forgot to edit whoever put that in. That was really awesome of them, too. I'll put that in the next part. And make sure you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time, guys. Bye.